Lend your ears, lend your hands, lend your movement, anything you can. Come to teach, come to be taught, come in the likeness and the image of God. 'Cause you can be like that, with all that humbleness and all that respect. All of the power invested in me.
Get ready for a big chuckle. I met Sam, 10 years ago at a B&I meeting when I was back in the corporate world, and it was about 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, and some of the jokes that she came out with had people cringing, so I loved it. But it was challenging for other people. So for those of you that don't know, I was diagnosed with a brain tumour in 2005, and at that time I met Don Tolman and learnt a lot about the diet that I was on and how I could fix it, and I also got introduced to Vipassana. So there was quite a few things in my life that I changed, and 18 months later was absolutely clear. So it's very possible to go from being very unhealthy to being healthy without going down the medical route. So I only had stage 2. I had a tumour behind my left ear, but I've met people that have been riddled with stage 3 and 4 who have fixed themselves as well. So it's very possible. It's not easy, but it's very possible. So, all right, for those of you to the left, if we can give a nice warm welcome to Samantha Bachman.
A warm welcome, hey? Well, at least it's warm here in Queensland. We've just been doing the tour. We did Melbourne, and I tell you what, I'm so glad I had my thermal G-string on. It was friggin' freezing. There was even a couple of Playboy magazines on the stands shivering at that stage. So, okay, just a bit of now. Listen, I've got my slides here because I can't really see them too well. Okay, so it's basically got me up there. The next one, let me just sort of go. You can read it, but let me just sort of give you a background. I'm trained in both naturopathic, allopathic medicine, started off in toxicology and nutrition and dietetics, and went over to talks on sex, and so I covered food and motivation and sex and money and all that sort of thing. But, you know, I used to do talks called Healthy, Wealthy and Sexy, which made a lot of sense at the time because my mother always said, if you can't eat it, spend it, or fuck it, it's no good anyway. So, you know, so coming from the bigger picture in that. Just a little bit more of me. These days, God knows what I do. I've had so many things, but I counsel, I talk on self-sabotage, basically. In toxicology, we looked at blood samples and tissue samples and fluids in the body, and basically I looked at two things that were causing the problems, and it wasn't the what they call illegal drugs, you know, your marijuana. And by the way, has anyone got any for sale? Anyone buy some? You know, I did this in Perth and someone stuck something in my bag and I had to go through the airport, and I thought, no, next time just catch me in the car park, don't stick it in my bag. So anyway, I looked at the bigger picture, and now I work on self-sabotage. So the sort of thing where, you guys, how many are still out there? They're all coming in? Woohoo! God, I can't see very well from here with this light. It's like straight in my face. Let me have a look at you. Oh, I can see what you're looking at. They're big, aren't they? Huh? Yeah, I know. Some of you guys want to come up and touch them. Some of you girls wish you had a set just like them. And anyway, let me tell you, you can't have them. They're my favourite set of earrings. Look at you, you dirty old bastard. You thought I was talking about my tits, didn't you? Well, let me tell you, with a gut like that, you haven't seen your dick for years, so, you know, it's all in your head. I bet your balls look like an orangutan's ass covered in elbow skin. That's my father, by the way. No, just joking with you. So, you know, looking at self-sabotage, I looked at diet and all that sort of thing. And, of course, when we look at diet, I look at it now, it's death by knife, food and ignorance. We're basically digging our graves with our teeth. So I want to sort of give you a big overview today, because normally I do weekend workshops and it takes all damn weekend to cover it. And, you know, now and then I just got to tell you, this is, you know, I'm single these days. I wear 3 wedding rings all on my wrong hand because I married the wrong men. And so I'm single again. I like the young guys. You know, they've got that new car smell about them. Nice. That was an ad, actually, not a joke. So I look around the room. Yeah, the first husband died, the second one wouldn't. And the third one was a moron with the big dick, or was it a big dick with a moron? I'm not quite sure how it go. And, you know, African American. So I've got my eyes on you over there, Mikey, down the back there. Yeah, all you girls are looking around. They say once you go black, you never go back. Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking at you. He's Canadian, though. They say with the Canadians that they don't get hemorrhoids. Perfect arseholes. Yeah. That was just a joke. So, actually, hang on a minute. I'll be with you in a second, Mikey. Can I have a runner, please? Could you just take those up to Mikey at the back? I just want to mark my spot. Yeah. You can smell them if you like. We should smell everything before we taste it. Anyway, so background, I've been varied. I've gone into a couple of different things. Middle age now, a little bit older than middle age, but you know, the whole aging thing all sort of happens, and still trying to work out what you want to be when you grow up. So I've gone, I want them back to you. He's looking at, yeah. So looking at the bigger picture. So, excuse me, I'm just looking at my whole slides here. So just to get off that, I've got 4 children, so I do understand why some animals eat their young. What happened? Some of them turned out all right. The oldest one, I thought it was PMS, but I realised she's just a bitch. So it's a bit tough these days. I've got a couple of little grandkids which are reasonably normal until their parents fuck them up, of course. So, but I want to give you a background. I'm trying to, in 2 hours, cover as much as I can about, and basically the bottom line, if I give it to you now, you know where I'm going, and that's to get out of head and get into heart. I talk about frequency, vibration, and I'm not talking about masturbation when I talk about vibration. I'm talking about, just general getting to the point of frequency. Tell me who in the room knows about, when I talk about frequency, vibration, we are vibrational beings. Yeah, good, I'm in the right crowd. What's happening here? AB, someone help me. We've done something here and I've just messed up the whole program. Or did you do it down the back there? Hello? Did I switch it off? AB, can someone go and get it? All right, so I've got, there we go. Yeah, hang on, just bear with me. I'm not very technical. Are you doing that or am I doing that? Mikey, come on, you're messing with me.
Sam, it's a slow clicker.
Oh, I like everything fast. I like everything fast, except for sex, of course. But I haven't had it for bloody 2 years. I tell you what, I think I'd suffer from premature ejaculation. It'd be all over. It'd be like, done. Okay. So earlier on this morning, we were talking about banks and the politics that goes behind the banks and the bullshit that goes on in the banks. I got to tell you, some years ago, I had a bit of money. I still am in business where I manufacture menstruation products. So vaginas is my business, and had a bit of money and go into the bank this day. And this was down in the Melbourne days. So I'm all dressed up, and you know how Melbourne is, where you put your stockings on and your high heels, and you kind of, that reminds me, I better put this back on. Your high heels and your suit, and I'm all dressed up, and the high heels are killing me. And I go into the bank, and I'm sitting there. That's all good. Now I need the clicker thing back. So I go into the bank there, and as the bank manager's there and the assistant bank manager there, and they're buttering me up because that was the way it was in those days. So, talking, and as they're talking to me, the bank manager noticed that my toes are curling up. The faster he talked, the faster my toes curled up. And in the end, at the end of the deal, they wanted to give me a whole lot of money, and the bank manager said afterwards, he said, that was the strangest conversation we've ever had. He said, as we kept talking to you, he says, the faster we talk to you, the faster your toes curled up. And I said, well, shit, that's the first time it's ever been attempted for me to be fucked with my pantyhose still on. So, a little bit later, I went back to the bank, threw down a condom and said, right, now I'm going to screw you. So we need to stand up against the banks, which at the end of the thing, although there's a lot of comedy, I have had a background in comedy. Well, I did it just for a laugh. But, we come back to getting out of the ego and back into the heart and all that sort of thing. So I've got a few slides here that so what you're saying is I've got to go really slowly with these. Okay, so we're tuned to creation. So what I'd like to get through to you today is that basically we and God or Allah or source or frequency, whatever you want to call it, we are connected to that. If you look at it as a radio station, and that's 101 FM, most of us are tuned to 69 AM. So we're out of frequency to it. And as you've gathered by the bit of the conversation this morning or a few of the speakers, that's how they like it. They like to keep us out of that. I'll get into the politics a little bit later with it. But basically we are vibrational beings. We have an energetic field, an energetic body, as well as a physical body. We'll talk a little bit on the physical body, but we'll talk about the energy body as the main part of the conversation. We look at the brain. Has anyone heard of the Heart Math Institute? Good. So for those that don't know, there are more neurons that go from the heart to the brain than go from the brain to the heart. In other words, our heart is our GPS. It's our inner guidance systems, and that's what we need to, of course, be listening to. If you look at, where am I going with that? So I'm going to give you some basics. Now, although I appear to be jumping over the place, it does make sense at the end of the day when I sum it all up. So what I'd like to let you know is just the body basics for the moment. Everybody needs a good woman. So, it's actually two good women, which we'll come to. By the way, is there any lesbians in the room? I did notice a couple over the back there. Yeah? Good on you, girls. I'm rooting for you too. It's kind of funny, actually. Did you know they've got a new, Nike? Nike? Nike have got a new runner out for lesbians? It's called Dikey. It's got a longer tongue than normal. You can get it off with one finger. Okay, the lesbians aren't laughing. I think I might get... Can I have security take me to the toilet? I think I might get bashed. Didn't mean it, just joking. Is any gays, any poofs, it's all right. You can't be... these days you've got to be so friggin' politically correct, haven't you? You can't tell jokes about blacks or whites or Chinese or anyone. So when we look at the bigger picture, W is what we would consider the most needed nutrient, which I'll show that that's not the most needed nutrient. But what do you think the most needed nutrient in the human body is? Water. Water is absolutely everything. Our lubrication, our eyes, our joints, our lymphatic system, our blood is mostly water, our brain is mostly water, our system is mostly water. If we look at it, we're around 70% ideal. So the thing is, as we get older, the reason we sag and dry up, and speaking of that, where's that girl with the bikini on that was doing the interviews over there? God, I look at that. We all dry up, you get a bit wrinkled, and let me tell you, after 4 children, my vagina looks like a Subway with the lot. And bigger wings than a Libra fleur. And there is just a little bit of hail damage, and I see these young girls over here, voluptuous breasts and voluptuous arse, and they're laying on the beach getting a nice little tan, and I look and I think, fuck, fry you home wrecker. So it's like that. We don't admit it, but we think it, don't we? We think, yeah, bitch. So I've got far too much hail damage to wear a bikini these days, let me tell you. I've had these lifted a couple of times. I used to be able to lay the kids on the kitchen floor and breastfeed them while I was standing there doing the dishes. And I remember the last child, she only liked to feed from one side, so I had one up here and one down there. But I entered a wet t-shirt competition, came first and third. Yeah, so the whole sagging thing. Yeah, so water's very, very, it's very important for the whole system. We need water. Everything needs water within the system. So water is number one. Now, when I say water, I mean water, not this bottled shit that we drink. Get a filter, clean your water, put a little bit of Celtic salt into it, which I'd like to do some salt tests later. This is Celtic salt. It's literally a mineral soup. And basically it's got all the elements, all the minerals in the periodical table. In other words, it's got everything we need, whereas salt is just sodium. Maybe it's got a bit of iodine in it, maybe a fluoride in it, but basically it's just salt. So our body needs the chemistry of everything in it. I actually make my own skincare using salt and oil, and I make what they call, has anyone heard of ormus? Oh yeah? Okay, so go and Google ormus. Ormus is literally, people say to me, how do you explain ormus? The food, manna from heaven, sacred meal. We go back to the Old Testament and they're talking about this particular ormus, the Ark of the Covenant. It won't make sense to a lot of you. When you start to get into it, basically if I had to dumb it down and describe what ormus is, it's literally the unseen part of an element. So we have a physical side and we have an energetic side. We can call it the aura or the human atmosphere around. So do elements. So basically you're taking the energy of that. Salt is particularly good because it's got everything in it. Sorry, someone? O-R-M-U-S. Ormus, Google it. So making skincare and all that sort of thing. But getting back to water, the water that we have has lost that life in it. Water has a memory in it. Does anyone know that when you pray into water or bless water and they freeze it, it has an energy, it shows a beautiful flower within there, a lot of heads nodding, so it's, you know, obviously you're that alternate types that you're looking at that sort of thing, whereas bottled water is basically dead. So I always have said to the kids, you know, when you get your water, say, I love you, 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 you know, bless it and change the chemical structure of it. So water's important. The next one, of course, is oxygen. Now, most of us don't know how to breathe. We shallow breathe. We tend to hold, well, I was told to hold my stomach in and stick your tits out. So, of course, we've lost the art of breathing properly. When you take deep breaths, you find, in fact, if most people put their hand on their diaphragm, take big, deep breaths in and out, in fact, do it now while I'm talking about it. So, big, deep breath in, count to 7. Hold it for 7 and go out to 7. You find after a couple of breaths you get a bit of a head spin. And that's because for the first time in maybe years, you've actually oxygenated your brain. Remember, your brain is an extremity to the rest of the body. So it's important, of course, to breathe. Now, movement. We tend to not move these days. We've got little remotes and we drive and we park and we go, only park as close as we can, and we sit in front of the TV and everything's about remotes and all that sort of thing. So we've lost the ability to move. Alkaline, of course, we'll come back to that. So what I might do is just go back into things a little bit more. I've got the slides here. When you look at food and nutrients in it, the water, the best water we can have, of course, is living water, but the water within foods, people say to me you need high fibre. That's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. You know, we've got all the brands and all these high fibres. It's like putting sawdust into the system, and the bottom line is you need more water to pass it through. So we want water-soluble foods, which I'm going to make up a smoothie in a short period of time. When we look at the power within our body, to make electricity, we need water. The plants where with power plants making water. So basically the water within our system creates our energy. When I say a super or a semiconductor, who knows what I'm talking about? Okay, quite a few of you. When you get the body hydrated to the extent that within the human body, if you imagine as a spider web that runs through the human body. It's what they call nanotubes. So they run through the human body. They are so small that when water goes into these nanotubes, or these like spider webs, this network, what happens is the water one cell is squashed right out like that to get into it. When the body is hydrated to that level, it becomes they say semiconductor, and now they're saying no, a superconductor. What a superconductor is there's no billionths of a second between when we think something and it happens. So it's instant. A way of describing that, there were some scientists once, and they tried to work out how fast the nervous system works, how fast it is from when you think to when you actually react to it. And what they worked out is that it's impossible, according to what they know, to play ping pong. It's impossible to play ping pong, yet we do. So that trillionth of a second, it's almost like we already know what we're going to do before we do it. We'll come into a little bit of that when we talk about the heart math stuff. So water is everything. We can pray into it, we can make a difference to the water. Keep in mind that we're mostly water, as I said, and so are our children. So when you look at the way we talk, or even if we think, we don't have to even talk to this water. We only have to pray, so we only have to think of it. So how many times do we look at someone and think, arsehole, bitch, God, I hate you, don't like you, all that sort of thing. And just imagine how that's affecting their chemistry, their water. So, I've got a couple of grandchildren, and I know that they, by God, they pick up everything. Up until the age of 6, 7, It's like someone has a record button on and everything is going in and they don't filter anything. Let me tell you a story of a patient that I had some time ago, and she came in, she said, I don't know what it is in life. She said, I love my husband and yet I find myself picking shit on him all the time. She said he can be out mowing the lawn and next thing I'm walking out there and I'm picking on him and I don't know why, I don't even know what I was going to say when I'm on my way out there. So we looked at that and we went back to that pre the age of 6 and looked at what might have been programmed into her. And what happens is her parents would just be bickering all the time. So she grew up thinking that was quite normal. So what happened later on, when she was married and had that environment, if it was too quiet, if there wasn't that going on in the background, she was subconsciously creating it because that was normal for her. So we've got to look at that, and where, of course, do we get all this passive learning, as you may look at it as, and that's TV. I don't own a TV. I don't have a TV. And people say, well, you know, how do you keep up with it? I don't want to keep up with what's there anyway. I don't even put the radio on. I might put music on, and I like to listen to stuff that's based around the 528 hertz. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? Yeah, 528 hertz. The frequency of music, 440, should be 432. We'll come back to that. Google all this sort of stuff if you are taking notes. If you're not, well, you'll fucking forget everything I've said, so you'll just go, all right. I know she had big tits and she had a big mouth, but I don't remember anything she said. Okay, so water is also your personal medicine. Oh, for God's sake. Really? Really? Look at him. He thinks he's important. He got one of the kids to ring him just so it looks like he's important. All right, so we look at it as our own personal medicine. I was talking to someone here who's in the alternate health industry, and we look at... Security. Okay, so we look at that own personal medicine. So let's look at it this way. So if we can pray or think into water and it changes the structure, we can put into this water, forget the homeopathics and all that sort of thing, we can impregnate in this water what we want in life simply by thinking into it. Has anyone seen the experiment they did with rice, where one lot of rice and water, they said, I love you, and the other one, I said, I hate you, and one went really mouldy really quickly, and the other one didn't, and all that sort of thing. So if you look at water, what I do, firstly, it's filtered water. I put it on a pyramid. I put Celtic salt in it so it becomes the same biochemistry. When you look at the Celtic salt, it's got the same chemistry as amniotic fluid. In other words, that's where we came from. Our tears are salty, our lymphatic system's salty, our body is salty. This puts it back into. So I bring this back into the same chemistry and I tell the water what I want. With that, what actually happens is when you drink it, you're making your own medicine. They once looked at it with urine therapy. It was a similar sort of a thing. And I know when I was studying homeopathy, we had this thing on urine therapy, and the class sort of were talking about it. So I was the first one to put my hand up and think, all right, well, I'll drink it, which was really hard. I thought it did a little shoddy glass and it was a bit warm, which I didn't really like. But anyway, I downed it. I've got the toothbrush loaded, like, whoa, really, really hard to do. But the thing is, I did it for a month and I felt the difference. Skin was beautiful. That's why they say, you know, when the kids piss in the bath, jump in there. It's all good for the skin. It is. It is. So it's quite normal. Well, I won't say it's normal to drink urine, but we can use that. Well, it's okay to drink your own. I mean, don't do anyone else's. That would be sick. So, and the same with picking your nose and eating it. I mean, this is where we prime our immune system. You go into a new area, you get a big booger out there, and then you eat it. And of course, what it's done, it's like a homeopathic remedy. It lets you know what's in the environment. So, you know, it's okay to pick them and eat them. You don't have to be, you know, do it in public, of course. Mind you, I did a seminar a while back at the Ipswich Library, and someone texted or emailed me afterwards and said when they left, they saw someone in the car picking their nose and eating it, and they thought, oh, they must have been to one of Samantha's seminars. So, but don't eat anyone else's. That becomes a little bit, you know. My little grandson the other day, he gets one, and I was tempted, you know. It was a good one, and he's like, what do I do with this? And I said, eat it. And he says, no, Mummy said don't. I said, fuck, Mum doesn't know what she's talking about. Go on, have it. And he wouldn't, so he wiped it on me, you know, this little crusty bit, and I thought, that's all right, I'll leave it there for later. So. priming the immune system. So now let's come back to oxygen. So breath, isn't that a beautiful picture of the lungs? You know, they look at what nature or our creator has done, and you look at trees and you look at lungs and you look at the cardiovascular system of a plant, and it's just, you know, this, what they call a doctor of signatures. It's printed the same thing over and over and over again. So our lungs are important. As I said, most people don't know how to use them. They don't breathe fully. Our breath connects us with anyone. Has anyone got into deep breathing and, you know, using breath for controlling of different things? I find, you know, when we, as in meditation, you over there, young guy, oh, looking good over there, looking good over there. Yeah, I'm looking at you. He's frightened. I did this in Perth, and there was a couple of young guys. I tell you what, I'd no sooner finished and they bolted. They were scared. They thought, fuck, she'll kill us. So when you look at, with the breath of thing, I know when I was writing a book on masturbation once, but it was, I know that sounds kind of a bit kinky, but it was really on controlling the breath to control the orgasm. And when you look at, like with, where am I going with this? I've completely lost my train of thought. As soon as you go, you know, masturbation and that, and I'm ovulating and Mikey's down there and shit, you know, I'm having, you know. Anyway, so what happens is we control the breath, we control the orgasm. Has any of you guys ever noticed that? When you hold your breath, you control it? All right, I better get out of this conversation really quickly. I can see one of the lesbians over there is winking at me as well. So we talk about controlling the breath. When you're having a baby, you can control a muscle contraction with breath. That's it controls the contractions. So basically, we don't know how to use our breath properly. We're going to come back into that later. Movement, if you don't use it, lose it. The thing is, as I said earlier on, with the neuropathways, we've got more neuropathways go from the heart to the brain than the brain to the heart. In fact, what they are, we've got particular, what they call neuropeptides, which are the same type of neuron that memory is held in. In other words, memory is held within our heart. Memory is held within our body. In fact, memory is held in our auric field. I used to do a TV show out of LA where a lot of it was on near-death experiences, but it was also on people that had organ transplants. Again, I'll come back into that later. But you know, they took on the cellular memory of the person who they had received those transplants from. So to make changes in our life, basically move. We need to move. We've stopped moving. We've got fat asses. We sit in front of the TV. We don't do anything. We whinge and complain instead of getting off and make some sort of a movement. The movement isn't just on moving on a physical level. It's taking action to make changes within our life. When we get to acid and alkaline, I'm going to tell you two stories. You'll notice there that one lake is crystal clear and the other one is stagnated. If we look at that and go back to the fact that our body is mostly water, can you imagine what your blood would look like if you're eating the wrong foods and our body has become quite acidic with and polluted to that level? Did you know that our eyes actually don't see the way we do? They take a photograph and they put it into our body and then we read that photograph. If you notice with the clean alkaline lake, you can see the picture of the environment in the water, whereas a stagnated lake you can't. So how many of you are missing the picture, not seeing the full picture because the fluids of your body are quite acidic and you're not seeing it as it is? Let me give you a couple of metaphors here when it comes to this. If you imagine two kids in front of you, and one you give an avocado salad, fresh fruit, nuts and seeds, a natural unprocessed diet. The other one has a McCappy meal, can of Coke, Twinkie bar. Which child is going to have the behaviour change? Well, he'll crack the shits because he can't eat that. But basically we know that it's going to affect us. The same with alcohol. You can have someone with a lot of drinks and what happens is their behaviour changes. Speak for myself, total bitch. But not that I drink a lot, but last time I had a drink, a mosquito flew off me straight to a fucking wall. Boom, that was it. Knocked the bastard out. Actually, I tell you what, this time of the year with the mosquitoes coming out, God, they're getting bigger and bigger, aren't they? See these mosquitoes? They're like these things. I saw one screwing a sparrow the other day. Holy shit, the size of that motherfucker. So when you look at that now, let me explain to you that within the human body, we look at the planet and we look at all the microorganisms. You can see where my mind's going. I'm just thinking of you, Mikey. Look out. If he bolts later, you'll know what's up. So when we look at the ecosystem of the planet, all the bugs and insects and diversity of life forms, all that sort of thing that are on the planet, did you know? So there's a lot of them, right? There's a lot. There's a lot of different varieties of whether it be creatures, insects, animals, grasses, whatever it may be. Did you know that in the human body there's more? We have more variety of living things in the human body, on the human body, than what there is on the planet. It's like we're a planet within ourselves. We have all these little... Has anyone seen those documentaries where they go in deep and they look inside a pillowcase and they see all those little things that are living there? They look like, you know, aliens and that. They're all around us, all over us. So, in other words, throughout our body, we have an ecosystem that is part of, or living microorganisms that is part of us. There's particular ones that their job is to eat our dead and decaying cells. The reason they do that is they clean up. They're like the cockroaches of the planet. So what they do when they see a dead, old cell, mutated cell, damaged cell, they eat it. They come in, gobble it all up. Now keep in mind, they are designed by our source to live off us, to eat off us. So what we eat, they eat. So can you imagine, let me make them a little bit bigger for a minute so you get a better visual of them. So imagine them as mice. Mice running around throughout our terrain, eating our dead and decaying cells. Now, we're going to pour Coca-Cola and a McHappy meal and all those sort of things in them, and they're going to metamorph, like that child that you give the avocado salad as opposed to the one that you have the McHappy meal, all that sort of... This kid metamorphs, doesn't he? Like a grub turns into a butterfly. It metamorphs into an ass. So what happens is this kid has a behaviour change. So if these microorganisms are designed to eat off us and we eat a diet that is unnatural for humankind, then the microorganisms metamorph. So the mice that are in us that clean up our cellular garbage now metamorph into rats. So now they've got a behaviour change, like that child that's got a behaviour change. So now if you've got a behaviour change within the system, what happens, instead of eating dead and decaying cells, what happens is they start to eat a little bit of you, another little bit of you, bit of the things they're supposed to eat, another bit of you. And then we keep doing that. Now we put medications, we put drugs and all that sort of thing in there. So now all of a sudden artificial sweeteners, aspartame. Have you ever Googled the side effects there? It's about 82 different problems that it causes. So artificial sweeteners we'll come back to because I'm going to make up some stuff in a minute. But basically when we look at the bigger picture, instead of that clean lake, that alkaline lake where the microorganisms is a normal way for you know, that's their normal habitat, their normal terrain, now we've got a stagnated acid lake, and what happens is the mice that have turned into rats, they keep going, we're putting drugs into the system, and they've metamorphed again into Tasmanian devils. So now they don't give a shit. They don't give a shit. They're not worried about cleaning your dead and decaying cells. They're eating everything. A bit of you, a bit of you, a bit of you. Now and then they get a bit of what they should have, but a bit of you, a bit of you, a bit of you. Do you know what that's called when you eats a bit of you? Autoimmune. So if you've got an autoimmune problem, you have given it to yourself through death by knife, food and ignorance. You're literally digging your graves with your teeth. So any acid condition, whether it be arthritis, any of the autoimmune conditions, majority of people have caused them themselves because they have a metamorphism of the microflora within the system. There's also a term called pleomorphism. That's where it turns back. That's where the drunk person becomes sober, the arsehole of a kid becomes normal again after the food's left the system. People that have been on drugs or on chemicals transform back. So the only way to do it is to start to stop eating that crap. Because most of us have an acid lake. Have you ever been, when you look at the lymphatic system, which is really the cleansing system of the body, have you ever walked into a nursing home, an old people's home, and you can smell them? You can smell them. That's because their whole system is stagnated. It's a waste system that is stagnated, and hence you get a smell to the human body. So if someone has a smell to them, it's because they're in an acid condition. So start to cleanse. I'm not going to go into fasting and detoxing. It's not why I'm here today, but we do that when I do the workshops. We go right into diet and all that sort of thing. So when we look at nutrients, what I look at in the diet is the living foods, the aura, the energy field. Everything has an energy field that is alive around it. So it makes sense to say if we eat that picture on the side isn't a weeny teeny little penis with a big head. It's actually a mushroom. So it's, I don't even know why I said that. I wasn't planning on it. I'm just thinking of Mikey over there and thinking, shit, I hope I do better than that one. So when you look at it, that whole energy field, did you know that the cells actually don't eat the food? They don't eat carbs, proteins and fats. They eat the energy of it. They eat the protons, the electrons, the phonons, the light, the energy, the sound, the vibration. That's what they eat. Did you know on a frequency level that all the cells have a particular vibration that they work with? And what happens, they will tell, oops, right there. They tell the body what they want. That's why women that are pregnant, they understand this, or the body understands that, and they get cravings for particular things. So, of course, you know, we look at the diet up to the top and the one down the bottom. It makes sense. We're buying all this. I mean, look, it's cheap and it's convenient and all that sort of thing. But these guys have got a lot of money, and we complain about McDonald's and all that sort of thing. Do you know why they've got so much money? Because we fucking buy their shit. So it's time to stop it. You know, people say to me, where do we go? What's the first step? Stop supporting the companies that don't give a shit about us. And certainly stop giving it to our children. And that's the same with vaccination and fluoridation and all that sort of thing. It's aimed at dumbing down the system. We'll come into that in a bit, but let me just get through this. So we look at those, whoops, we've gone back too far. So we look at the nutrients in our body. What I'd like to do now, I think it's about a good time to do it. I'm just going to show you the way, you know, the right way to eat. You look at the way, actually, see these little things here? These are, I was cutting these out in Melbourne. They're actually big balls with little penises. They're Asians. And is there any Asians in the room? Stand up. Is it true what they say? They say, you know, it's not the size, it's how you use it, but shit, I've never met a little dick that knows how to use it anyway. Oh, we've got one over there. How big is it? Yeah? I once went out with this guy, and I won't say his name because he's a fellow speaker, but if he ever sees this on YouTube, he comes out, we had a few drinks, we had a party there, and, you know, get back to his room, and honestly, he comes out of the room and he goes, da-da! And I'm like, fuck, I wouldn't da-da with that. Anyway, I'd slept with him about 10 years earlier, and I remembered why I didn't remember. Anyway, so what we're going to look at here is we're going to look at, you know, just isn't memorable. It's like, you know, is it in? Shit. So let's look at some typical type of diets here. Look at this thing. This reminds me of my last husband was bigger than that. Let me tell you, you know, this whole African American thing. It's true what they say. I hadn't slept with him, you know, when I first met him, of course. Otherwise, then I would have met him. But you know, if I'd have slept with him, I would have think so anyway. And it was really funny because we were driving somewhere, and I put my hand on his knee, and I mean his knee, not on his knee, and I looked up, and he said, yeah, and I said, holy shit, I'm going to need lube. So, but it's really funny because we were dancing this night, and this is before it even got there. I said, so what size is that, you know, that thing down there in, you know, in your jockettes? He says, you know, with this African-American accent, he says, 3.5 inches. I said, is that off the tape? He says, Hunter, that's off the floor. That's off the floor. God. He was a dick, though. He never had any money, this guy. Never had any money, you know, southern states, Georgia, you know, poor farmers, moron. And he never had anything, and he's, you know, like, he just never bought me a wedding ring or took me out anywhere, never went on a honeymoon, and I came into a little bit of money, won a bit of money. And so I came home this day, I said, darling, sweetheart, pack your bags. He said, what am I packing for, summer or winter? I said, I don't care, just fuck off. It's really funny. He woke up this morning. I've got to tell you a story about him because he's not here. He woke up this morning and he had this lump on his head, and it was like one of those blind pimples, you know. And I'm looking at him, I said, what's this? He said, oh shit. He said, I know, I just woke up. I said, did you bump your head or something? He says, no, I don't remember bumping my head. Anyway, so he's doing something and I look over again and notice it's like doubled in size. And, you know, just by the hour it was getting bigger and bigger. And then I'm starting to look, I said, holy shit. And he looked in the mirror and he said, I think so too. And he said, what do you think? I said, yep. I said, it looks like a penis growing out of your forehead. And he said, holy shit. He said, we better get to the doctor, you know, have it removed sort of thing. And we're getting there, and as he's getting ready, I noticed getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I said, shit, by the time we get to the hospital, honey, I said, you're not going to see a thing. And he said, what, you think it'll make me go blind? I said, no, your balls are going to cover your eyes. So let's look at the sort of things that we put in here. So imagine a child that has a banana, has an apple for breakfast, maybe some dried fruits and nuts in there. So we're making a bit of a, you know, a mixed concoction. I couldn't get any yogurt. So I've got one of these chia things. I tell you what, I had one of these yesterday to test run it. I did a fart that lasted 4 sets of traffic lights. And then the funny thing is today, I had this skirt on which is really, it's really quite loose, and I said to one of my daughters, I got nowhere to hang the thing on, and she says, oh, I've got one of those petticoat things. It's one of those sucky up things, like a little tube, so it would be strong enough to put the thing. It's about this fucking round, okay? So you can see me trying to get it on, and I finally get it up. I farted, and it's still in there at the moment. It hasn't made its way out just yet, so if you hear it, that was from about 7:30 this morning, so it's like, you know, so Mikey, you're in for a bit of a surprise when I get it off. Everything goes poof, all falls out of there. So you can imagine this sort of thing. You might make a smoothie out of it. We'll throw a couple of strawberries in there. This is one of my grandson's favourite foods for a couple of days now. He tells me he's never, ever, 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 ever eaten strawberries again. He decided he got one sour one and it's put him off. So a couple of strawberries. I'm going to throw potato in there, a bit of baked potato. The Irish in us loves the potato, the taties. Peach, a bit of capsicum. So what I'm getting at here, if you made a beautiful avocado salad with a bit of capsicum, some fruit, veg, nuts and seeds, these are the things that people would eat in a day. This is a little bit small for husband number 3. That's about husband number 2. That's about husband number 1. So... okay, so now put a bit of cucumber in there. We might have a bit of zucchini. Has anyone ever done the zucchini, the raw zucchini as a pasta? Yeah, it's good, isn't it? Roll it up, put your what do you call it, cashew cheese and all that sort of thing. A couple of beans, we might make a bean salad. So this is all going in there. These bars, they've got some beautiful stuff on the market now where you can get these good-for-you bars, you know, a little bit of, again, seeds, more flatulence. I do have it. I mean, look, ever since, I went vegan for a long time, but I lost all my friends. No one ever invites you to a barbecue when you're a vegan. And the thing is, this stuff is great, but it does make you fart. I've got to tell you, some years ago, I was going in for a little bit of minor surgery, having 4 kids. I figured that was enough, so I was going in to have my tubes done. And just before going in, or the night before, I made a stupid decision, and I'll never ever do it again. I love licorice. So I went and got a whole lot of licorice and I was eating it. Well, the next morning, have you ever had those farts that it's like someone's crawled up your ass and died? My God, they were foul. I couldn't stay around. And here I am for day surgery. So I've got this little cubicle with a curtain on it that you've got to put on this gown and you go in and all that sort of thing. So I put on the gown and I farted and I'm like, you know, like you're trying to, you know, get it out of the room. Yeah, it was not a room, it's just so, you know. I'm like, oh God, this is going to be embarrassing. Anyway, so I thought, they linger. 2 weeks later, it would have been still smelling in there. So anyway, I'm like, oh shit, nothing I could do about it. So I'm like, I was gowned up by this stage. Anyway, I go in, have the surgery, and afterwards I was like really concerned. I thought, I wonder if you actually fart while you're under. Anyway, so the doctor comes in afterwards and he said, how's it going? I said, oh good. I said, tell me, do people fart while they're under? He said, yeah. He said, you cleaned the room out 3 times. So I can imagine they go, holy shit, and off they go. So I was the longest person ever to have this surgery because by the time they went out and they had to get room freshener and candles and it was like, I can imagine they go, So be careful of what you eat. Don't do licorice before you go in to have any sort of surgery, because while you're unconscious, you do fart. All right, we've got some dates in there. Hey, Mikey, you want a date? Yeah? Yeah? I'll give it to you later. So we've got some dates, we've got some dried apricots, we'll put some tomatoes in there, we're going to stick some dried apple in there, a little bit of green stuff in there, and we're going to put, ooh, I know someone's going to enjoy this, all right, a bit of coconut water. Do you know coconut water? Great electrolyte, got everything in it, antifungal, antiviral, antibacterial, great for your colon. Great for your colon. I know people that have just gone on a coconut diet and it's really cleaned out their system. So coconut yogurts, all that sort of thing, as opposed to the sort of things that we do with, hang on, I'm talking and looking at the same time if I've got a bit of everything in there. Now, sometimes we can't get our fresh fruit, just, you know, we do want convenience, so we might have some, it's not ideal, but it's, you know, it's better than a Twinkie bar. So, all right, now you can see you've got a good visual of an unprocessed diet. So in here, we'll go, well, let's put a tin of baked beans in there because they often go in there. Steve the comedian will tell you some funny stuff on baked beans a little bit later. All right, so a little bit of pizza. Now, how many kids would have baked beans on toast? A little bit of, this is like just absolute rubbish. A bit of pizza for breakfast, especially cold pizza. A pie, I put the whole lot in there. And then we do a couple of, you know, this is what people eat, don't they? So you put a bit of that, I forgot the breakfast cereal, holy shit. All right, well, let's just, well, pie probably is a good breakfast. A little bit of sugar we're going to put in there, of course, because they've got sugar on everything. Then we might just put in there the milk that would normally go on the cereal. Why did I forget the cereal? Anyway, a bit of milk in there. And, of course, we have this diet. I tell you what, if you drink Diet Coke, you're a fucking idiot. Absolutely. You're just a fucking idiot. I mean, there's nothing in this. It's nothing, you know, they clean your jewellery with this shit. I see it and I'm, and this sort of crap, I see kids do this. I used to do a presentation on health at a school, and I would find kids turning up with this. There was a 7-year-old, came in, behaviour problems, not a tooth in his head. They were rotted through to the gums. And I said, what are you doing drinking this? He said, I don't like water, miss. I spoke to the mother. No, I didn't speak to the mother. The mother spoke to me. She rang me. And I said, look, you know, she said, I want you to butt out. She said, you're telling my kids should drink water, should do this, you know, should eat some apples. She said, I haven't got that sort of money. Her kid would come to school with 2-minute noodles and eat them dry. How's all these sort of things? I don't think this is cheese, but they give you that like it's all sexy, snack. The fucking heart attack, that's what it is. And then, of course, you've got the aria. I've got to tell you, like I said, married to a black man. So one day I'm walking along Venice Beach in LA and I've got the black husband on this side, the black guy on the other side. I'm in the middle, felt like a friggin' Oreo. And then, of course, the cheesels, you know, they make these, stick them on your fingers, it's all fun. Now, what I'm sticking in here is what a lot of kids would eat in a day. I've seen supermarket trolleys, and when I look at them, of course, I look at the kids and I think, any wonder you fucked up. Look at you got zits all over your face. I saw this little black kid recently. He's got all these zits. I said, you look like a friggin' Chiquito. Okay, bit of tomato sauce, of course, we all throw that in there, don't we? And of course the good old salt, this is going to kill you. Any one of the doctors say don't have it. They're right. This stuff is a completely different thing. Bit of salt, I got these out of the bin, any place I could find them. This, and of course, you know, the Kinder Surprise, I like this. They market to the kids, you know, this is all really cute and all that sort of thing. So you've got all the, a minute. I don't buy these things. What's in it? Hey, Mikey, there might be something we can play with later. Let me know. Does it need batteries? Okay, Tic Tacs, another thing. Never eat them. Tim Tams, all that sort of thing. The Kit Kat, got to tell you about, I've got a joke about Kit Kat, not a joke, true story. I was used to be in Melbourne, and I was at this lunch shop where it's like a counter, and you go up there and you sit at like a breakfast counter type thing. And there was this, I sit down, and, you know, putting my jacket down, I bought a Kit Kat and a cup of coffee, and the guy next to me, I don't know when it exactly happened because I'm sort of sitting down. Next thing I notice, he picks up my Kit Kat and he starts to unwrap it, and I'm looking at him and he's looking at me in a strange way. Now, normally when someone's eating a Kit Kat, they're looking at you with some sort of a look. He's looking at me like, what the fuck are you looking at? And I'm looking at him like, you're eating a fucking Kit Kat. So I thought, he's a retard, you know? And you know, it's all right with, you know, just normal people, you know, they might hit you or have something abusive to say, but when someone looks at you like that and they're a moron or a retard, you think, fuck, I don't know what one of them does, you know? Is he going to shit on me or piss on me or bite me or kick me or, you know, what's going to go down? So I was a bit I wasn't quite sure how to deal with it. Anyway, so he's still going and he's just eating the Kit Kat and I'm looking at him and he's looking at me like, what the fuck are you looking at? And I'm like, okay. Anyway, so he finishes the Kit Kat. I notice he's got this coffee scroll there. So what I did, I sort of got my bag over my shoulder and I got headed that way, so I'm ready to run out the door. Leant over, got his coffee scroll, went, took a big bite and bolted. So I get back to work and I'm telling them all, you know, and I take off my jacket and what's in my pocket? My Kit Kat. Which explained why he was looking at me going, what the fuck are you looking at? He was eating his Kit Kat. So he's gone back and said, oh, this is a stupid bitch, she's an absolute retard. She takes a bite of my coffee scroll, stares me down while I'm eating my Kit Kat. So I thought, oh God. Anyway, now we'll put a bit of prune juice in there because after this shit you're going to need it to get it out. You know the largest selling supplement in the world? Laxatives. Can't break the shit down, can't get the shit out of there. So now let me just hope this all works. So I have... Okay. Try and turn it off. Okay. Taste test. Okay. You're laughing. The first one to laugh has to come up here. Right. So we know what went into here, what people would eat in a day, including the beans and all that sort of thing. So who's going to do the taste test? Sonia, would you come up here for a second and just pass this down to this guy over there? Hang on, I'm tricking. I'm going to give him this one. You won't know. Okay. There you go. Let's just mess him up a little bit. There you go. Give him that one. Give him that one. They look the same, don't they? It's all deceiving. Yeah, this one over there. Come on. Oh, the big mouth, the good-looking girlfriend. Okay. Tell me which is the junk food one. Yeah. Nice? Oh, yeah. Well, there's nothing in there that you wouldn't eat. Bit more sauce, you reckon? I got to have a taste myself. So, needs more cheesels? Who's laughing over there? Come on, kiddo. Come on, you smart-ass little prick. Come on. I know you eat this shit. Okay. Scull it down. Come on, I know you eat this crap. Tastes like vomit, doesn't it? Come on. All right, off you go. Not good, is it? I bet you put that shit in. Anyone want a taste? Come on, you pass it around. Would anyone like a taste of this one? Sonia, can I get you to take that, give them...
That's fine, yeah.
Huh? Give him the good stuff. Hang on. You'll have to take the whole lot. So give some people, give this little future someone who might be wiping our asses in the nursing home. So have a taste of that. Now the potato went in there, all the things like, well, I put fruits and vegetables in there and it's quite fine to drink. This one does taste like vomit. If anyone would like to have a go, I'm quite happy for you to wrap your laughing gear around that. Talking in the nursing home, so I'm wiping her ass. There's these two ladies. They're in a nursing home and one said to the other, she said, do you think about sex anymore? And the other one said, all the time. And she said, well, what do you do about it? You know, you get to this age. She said, well, these days, I just suck a lifesaver. And the other one thought for a few minutes and she said, who drives you to the beach? Yeah. Some of you young ones, you know the old lifesaver? Forget it. It's something lost in the translation. All right, let me see where I'm up to. Where's my little clicker thing? Did I blend that up? Okay, so now you've seen the difference in food. What this is, when we look at this, really, it's all pureed, it's all smoothie, there's no fibre in there. What do you got? You all clucky there. Look at you, kissing him, licking him all over. Do you want a room? Get some water. Huh? Oh. I mean, this could be baby food, couldn't it? Pureed, no fibre, all there, got everything in it. I mean, you're gonna poison them sooner or later. I mean, this should be sponsored by the drug companies. They love all this sort of thing. But when you think about this, you wouldn't give this to a young child, yet when they get a little bit older, you do. What you are, when I say you, I'm not targeting anybody as such. Well, you maybe. But I'm not targeting anyone as such. So what I'm saying is what happens is this sort of thing, you wouldn't give it to them. You are literally fucking up their body. Remember that acid lake? You're giving them diabetes, you're giving them arthritis, you're making sure their nervous system doesn't function properly, you make sure that they've got behaviour problems. This is exactly what you're giving them. So think twice before you feed your children this sort of crap. Whereas the other side, we know that that's conducive to health for them. We are becoming, basically, these companies love it when we do this, and I'm surprised they haven't put out the junk food smoothie. Put it in a little can. I mean, well, it's no different to this, but this is basically what it is. So let's look at the way we feed our kids. I've locked them clear. And then this little thing. Oh, I saw this yesterday at the supermarket. A merry fucking teaser. What's that? A merry teaser. They package this stuff in all sorts of ways to make sure they're brought out. It's like the Malteser, and they bring it out in a different package. I tell you what. This is the only merry teaser I like. Mikey, you get where I'm going with that, the teaser. We are talking about vibration later. So this sort of stuff, anyway, we won't go up. I just don't, it upsets me to look at what's happening. Hey, do they all drink it all? How's that? It ran out. Who tasted that? How was it? Even with raw potato and, you know, everything in there, it still works. So we can make their salad, we can puree everything, drink it down. There was capsicum and everything in there, tomatoes, dried fruits, fart material over here, dried fruits, nuts. This one, come on, I'd like someone else to try it. Come on, quickly. Come on. Okay. All right, so we've got onto that. Now the second woman, everyone needs two good women. Waste removal, orgasms, that gets onto frequency and vibration. Well, just gave me the opportunity to bring up the fact that I would like a couple. Muscle tone, attitude, and negative ions. So let's look at, oops, you know where I'm going with that one. So waste removal, as I said, the largest selling supplement, whether you call it a drug or an alternate drug, is laxatives. We can't get the shit out of there. So basically we are clogging up our system, we don't have enough water, and we suffer, and we don't have enough. Now remember I talked about fibre, it's not that sort of fibre we want, not the dry fibre, we want water-soluble fibre, celery, cucumber, capsicum, those sort of things. As we need to remove the waste from us, we also do with the planet, and of course we're creating it. There's when's Roman on? Roman Spur, he talks about sustainable living. This man has no waste at all. He makes sure he recycles everything. Absolutely wonderful, wonderful speaker. So vibration, frequency. Let me tell you, we are basically, like I said earlier on, we are vibrational beings. We have a frequency, all our organs have a frequency of which they vibrate at. We are transmitters and receivers. Anyone ever heard of Dr. Bruce Lipton? One of them? Yeah? So he talks about the outside of the cell being basically what programs us. So our thoughts, come back to thoughts. So what we think is created changes our DNA, changes our genes. So when we look at that vibration. Now let me tell you something I've just learned of recently. We start to, sorry, I'm just looking to where the next slide's going so I know what I'm going to. So when you have a look at the vibration of things, all electrical gadgets have a frequency, a vibration. And there is a conspiracy going on, and I know you're pretty open to it, you guys, because you're in the right seminar to understand the bullshit that goes on and the lies that go on. But there are household appliances, not talking about the vibrator, household appliances that have frequencies programmed into them that mess with our nervous system. The fridge is the worst one, but did you know that so what happens when you've got the fridge, I think it's about 60 beats per second. So it goes bzz, 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 bzz. You don't hear it, but it's working on that frequency all the time. I see people in a two-storey house where their bedroom's above the fridge. And I see a lot of problems. One woman in particular has been trying to get pregnant, and she hasn't just got a fridge, she's got a walk-in cool room down the bottom. She moved rooms when we talked about it. She fell pregnant within two cycles from simply. Now it could have been, you could say it was coincidence anyway, but if you do the research on fridge, also with lighting now, anything that's smart lights, smart TVs, smart fridges, smart washing machines, they're putting in, it's like a Morse code, beep, 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 which is messing with our frequency. Let's talk about muscle, strength of thought. We look at the brain, we look at the heart, and of course the heart is a muscle, and it's the muscle that we should be tuned into. I look at the heart as like our inner GPS. You know what I'm talking about when I talk about intuition, gut feeling, all that sort of thing? A few of you know of the heart. No, actually I'll come back to the Heart Math Institute. Attitude, everything. When we look at the attitude, let me just give you a great overview on attitude. It's, some years ago when I was doing this program on near-death experiences and that sort of thing, I met a young boy who'd been in a coma for 5 years. And when he came out of that coma, he said to his mother, he was 10 to the age of 15, when he came out of the coma, he knew everything that had happened at home. He knew what his mother wore, what she ate different times, who came over to visit, yet his physical body was in the hospital for 5 years. So he was tuned in to what was happening, so he's out of his aura, his energy field, or his subtle body, whichever, his soul was living somewhere else. Anyway, after doing a series of shows, particularly interviews with this particular boy, I really got the understanding that there was something else there. And I had to talk to what I call the folks, Mother Earth, Father Universe, one day, and I said, why on earth would you be talking to me about this? I'm an atheist, I fart in public, I'm not politically correct, I've been known to swear, and yet I'm having communication with you. I'll come back to why that was, but what came out, what was said to me is that we don't hear them. And I said, what do you mean you don't hear them? There are people out there that worship the ground you walk on. They've got their rosary beads, they're doing the Hail Marys, they're doing their Allahs, they're doing, food donations, putting food out to their gods, their spirits, and yet I'm having a conversation with you and I'm never went to church or anything like that. And when I say they, because it was like sort of many voices said we don't hear them, and what it came back to was that whole frequency thing. Let me give you a good example. When we are in a state of happiness and joy, look, I'll tell you what I'll get you to do. Everybody get the biggest smile you possibly can on your face. Right? Biggest smile. So just imagine you've got this huge vibration, so you're happy, joy, happy, joy, happy, joy. And say out loud, this is the worst frigging day of my life. Yeah, you don't feel it. Hey, Zane, how you doing? Hey, girlfriend. See, I got my own. You lesbians over there, I got my own. Yeah, that's my girlfriend over there. Hello. So, I don't know why I said that either. So you look at that whole frequency thing. So now I want you to have no smile whatsoever and say, this is the happiest day of my life. You don't feel it. So what they were actually saying is that the vibration overrides. So I've always walked around in a happy state, not because I masturbate, but because I'm just a happy person. So, you walk around in that happy state, so what happened? You tuned into the 101 FM instead of the 69 AM. So what's happening, just supposing you're going through life and you've got all this, yes, I feel good, the vibration's all really good, then your mother-in-law comes to visit, flat line. And then everything's all good and the heart's vibrating again, mother-in-law, or something, the car breaks down, something happens. And of course we go into, mother-in-law's come to visit. All you've got to do is smile and think, you don't have to say it out loud, you just think, you fucking bitch, I hope you're going home really soon. I mean, you don't say that, but you think that. And of course, it overrides that negativity of the effect on the body. So what was meant by when we say we weren't heard is that a lot of people, when they pray, they get down to please help me, please God, please Allah, please fucking whoever, as opposed to feeling it. Happy joy. I don't care what you're giving me, just bring it on, because life's good and I love the excitement of it. I love the energetic of it. You know, bring it on. I trust. Thank you for everything. So there's a completely different, but they're all taught to please, please, help me, help me. So they go under the radar. They're not connected. We need to get connected to the frequency of source. Where am I going with that? Okay, so your body is the door to the physical world. So what we've looked at, if our body is the house of our soul, of our energetic thing, what we put into it. Now, might this be a conspiracy to keep us in 69 AM? Might radio, TV frequencies, our friggin' fridge, our microwave, another thing I don't have in my house, you know, might they be slowly dumbing us down to the point that we're talking to people and they're not listening because they're not even tuned into it. I don't know what that person's on. So we've got to get out of that particular vibration by changing this, and they know that. GMO foods, as I talked about earlier, aspartame, artificial sweeteners. There's a local member of parliament in the room. He told me not to say his name, but stand up, Jason, so they can see you. Where is he? Oh, a little bald guy, pretty cute. Smells of garlic at the moment. Okay, so we've been quite outspoken on these sort of things, but we look at the behaviour problem in school. I mean, once upon a time there was one bad kid in the class. It might have been me. Now you can't find one good one. They get hold of those kids. They want you in school earlier. They want you to feed them little snacks and all this baby food. We've forgotten how to mash it. I've got people that, younger people that come in and I say, steam your vegetables, and they don't know how to steam a vegetable. They know how to zap it in the microwave. They've got microwaves in daycare centres. They've got microwaves in the nursing rooms where mothers are heating up the bottle, and it's cow pus anyway. Nothing normal about getting milk from another species. I mean, obviously this is it. They're not for you guys to play with, but it's almost become illegal to feed. Or is it back legal again? I mean, at one stage you weren't allowed to feed in public. This is the way to do it. We didn't have to sterilise them. They're all ready to go. I know I never boiled my nipples before I fed. But, it's got to that, hasn't it? Oh, is it clean? Are they, where have they been? Fuck, we come out of dirty vaginas, straight into a dirty cave, straight onto a dirty nipple, and that's how we had an immune system. When they vaccinate a child, they give something like 25, at least, different chemicals in there. And did you know that it messes up their immune system for life? For life. Not just for a few years, their immune system is never the same. I didn't vaccinate my children, and now we go out there and they're like, oh, but you can't get into daycare. Shit, someone's got to stand up. Someone's got to say no, don't conform. David Icke, brilliant. Brilliant. Do not conform. So back to the heart. The heart is the doorway to everything. It's your inner GPS. When you look at, I wanted to bring a heart monitor today, but I was having a bit of troubles with it actually because it just wasn't working properly. But often with a patient, I will hook them up to a heart monitor. I do this during my workshops. And what you get a heartbeat, and then you get boop, 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 and you get a heartbeat, boop, 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 heartbeat. And they were looking at that here's the beat, and here was the heart sort of getting ready for the next beat. Here's a beat, getting ready for the next beat. The way I look at this is my term, they put another term for it, but that is sending signals to the body. It's like Morse code. Beep, 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 beep. Heartbeat, beep, 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 beep. Heartbeat, beep, 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 beep. Now, there's only two ways that the body is going to go. One is in love and one is in fear. Fear is resentment, anger, bitterness. We carry grudges. Women are the worst. Sorry, girls, I'm one of them, But basically, we forgive our husband his sins and then dish it up to him the next morning for breakfast. And we do. We don't like to forget. We don't like to forget. So when we look at that, all that is coming. Now, if your body has only got two ways, if this is fear, what happens is it's fight or flight. Everything's like, I don't know what's happening out there, but get ready, digestion doesn't work. We wonder why we're overweight. Our digestion is shut down, our metabolism is shut down because it's thinking, fuck, there's a bear after us. Something's happening on the outside. Your body doesn't want to digest. It's like we might have to climb a tree. We'll just leave it there, we'll stick it on the arse and we'll come back to it later. We don't want to digest because if we digest, we might have to shit. And if we shit, something's going to smell us. It's true. So everything shuts down. We are in fear and we're storing it on our hips. Like I said, death by knife, food and ignorance. We are digging our graves with our teeth and planting flowers on our graves with the lies of our taste buds. So we want to get our body into the thing where it's actually functioning properly. Gratitude, love. Get into the right, be grateful we've got to stop doing this, which is dumbing us down. Fucking hell, I get all upset about this when I talk about this sort of thing. So basically that coherence. So when we look at coherence, when you look at this beat, the beat of do means we're in flight or fight. When it does that, that means we're in coherence. Coherence means we're in tune. Coherence means that our GPS is working, our gut feeling, our intuition, we feel it, we know we know what we want in life. We feel it. So that coherence is where it wants to be. That means we're digesting and metabolism, everything is working properly. When we're not in coherence, our brain doesn't work. I look at my kids and go, oh, what was your name? I had a girlfriend that I've had for 20 years. She walked out of the spare room the other day and I went, oh, what's your name again? Not in coherence, have the coffee. So that coherence, I had a guy come into my clinic recently and I put him onto the monitor and it was because he was nervous, doing this. And then I said, right, what I want you to do is go into coherence. I want you to just close your eyes and just go into coherence. Normally it takes someone about 10 minutes. Well, you holding the sign up there, what does it say? Fuck off now. Okay, how long have I got? 20 minutes. Okay, talk fast. Okay, so what happened is it went straight into coherence. I'm watching the monitor and I'm looking at him and I thought I won't interrupt, and a few minutes goes by and I said, in the end, I said, what are you thinking? I've never seen anyone go from fear to love or from incoherent to coherence. He says, I'm Irish, I'm praying. And I thought, wow. I said, well, keep that up, buddy. Keep it up. Which is gratitude. That's what he was doing. He just shut his eyes and said, thank you, God, for everything. And it went straight into coherence. We've got to come from gratitude. Be grateful for what you've got, including your arsehole children sometimes, So we be grateful. I look at them and I go, oh, fuck, okay. That's the runt of the litter. But anyway, so what we need to do is come from that gratitude and appreciate that. Let me just go through these really fast. So the heart, when they did a atrial peptide, I'm just sort of looking where I am. Okay. With the heart, they did, the Heart Math Institute put some little electrodes on someone's brain, and then they put them on, not their breast, but they're nice, aren't they? Oh, shit, I forgot the Brussels sprout. I just realised we had sprouts for dinner. That's probably why I've been farting so much. We had the sprouts and I was going to put it in the thing. That reminds me, though, do you know what, will I go there? Yeah, the old Brussels sprouts. The thing is, you can't get kids to eat. What's the difference between Brussels sprouts and snot? Can't get kids to eat Brussels sprouts. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know what's in the other one there. Oh, lolly. Okay. I do that. I put things down there. Okay. So what they did is they put the electrons on the head and they put them on the heart. And what they did is they showed on the computer screen, they showed car accidents, amputations, flowers, puppies, love, horrible things. And at the end of it, they're quite a bit into it, and the doctors are saying, or the scientists are saying, well, look, there's no real coherence between heart and brain. We can see that the graph is different. And one scientist sort of went over here and he said, holy shit. He said, no. He said, the heart knows it 6 seconds, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 seconds before the brain saw the picture, the heart already knew what it was. In other words, our heart can see at least 6 seconds into the future. Our heart knows already. When someone says to you when you're driving along, say, oh, go left, go right, I say, hey, what do you feel? That's your inner GPS. But we're good at saying, oh, I think you should do that, and you should do that, and you should do that. Fuck off, I say. How do you know what my GPS is telling me? We're all designed to be different. We're all individual. Don't mess with your kids. You know, some of these people say, oh, you've got to become this and you've got to become that. Don't mess with them. Say to them, how does it feel? And we can do that for applied kinesiology. We can muscle test, just like a lie detector. We can do a muscle test. And we can soon, what I do is I tune a patient into something that's really good. You know, like you say your kid's name or something that's really good. And you can see the frequency. Then you look at a question that they might have and you can soon say if there's a drop, in other words, should I do this or should I do that? You can see the drop in frequency according to that. So going back to the heart, you guys all know by now, this is all about, it's really all about heart this whole weekend. Get back in your heart, get out of your head. Your ego costs you a fortune. I know I put mine out on the nature strip trying to get rid of it at the last garage clean out and fucking not even the neighbours wanted it, you know, it's like seen it around. But your ego will take you in the shopping mall, spend all your money, does not give a shit. It does not give a shit about you. It will do all the wrong things and then bag you out for it. You look at these, if I used to say to people, you know, when I was doing nutrition and dietetics, I'd say, you know, they'd say, what do I eat? I say, let's not even go there. Because if I gave you a questionnaire, what to eat, to get healthy, to get fit, you'd know. You tick all the right boxes. It's why you don't do it. It's why the self-sabotage, because that food makes us feel good for that second because we're so out of heart. When we get into heart, we get into coherence, we don't want that. We're just happy just being. So vibration is the language of creation. I know a few of you know 440 hertz. 440 hertz is the frequency of music these days. It used to be 432, Hitler. If you follow the path back, Rothschilds, Hitler was involved in that. And it was him that changed the frequency because they knew if they threw people out of frequency, they would be easier to control. So when we put sound onto sand or onto a plate, it vibrates into flower of life. The Solfeggio numbers. You look at the different crystals or the different patterns that are formed there. So our heart basically is a transmitter and receiver. It is picking up this information from outside sources, taking it into our cells, and it is determining whether we are healthy or not, determining whether our genes are going to get cancer or not get cancer. Cancer isn't a diet-related thing. It's a thinking thing. You know, if we're thinking really good, we can get away with a little bit of that. But of course, you know, most of us, we're told, you know, eat it, but don't eat it. So we go into fear. And of course, our cells metamorph, or not our cells, but our microorganisms metamorph. We attack ourselves, and next thing, cancer is started. So when we look at it, it's really fascinating to know that there's an energy field around the human body. Our geomagnetic field that comes from the heart is the same as the frequency of the planet. The brain, or the brain, vibrates at the same frequency as the ionosphere. So our body is connected to the ground and our head is connected to the ionosphere, which goes up about 120 kilometres. So electromagnetic fields affect our heart, our brain and all our emotions. As I said, our DNA is in what we think. If we've got two identical twins, one goes off to a family where there's no cancer in the family, the other one goes in the fancy, get it identical, one will get it, one won't, but it all depends on the thinking. I know there's a lot of ads out there, you know, oh, you know, diabetes is really ripe and all this sort of thing, and oh, you're going to get this, so it all puts that fear into our system. Look at these electromagnetic fields that are running through, the house. Baby monitors. Never, ever, ever have one. You grandparents out there, never allow them to put a baby monitor right next to the child's head. Do you know what we used to do in the old days? We'd go, can I hear the baby crying? Never got to have a freaking monitor. Baby cries, this is going to let you know. So we look at that electromagnetic poisoning of the system, lights that are sending out signals, they're making sure we're dumbed down, our energy fields are affected by them. When you look at this, the earth, isn't that a great little picture there? You know, the heart is connected to the ground, we're grounded, and of course, our head is up there. Which gets me onto grounding. This is what this is. We talk about free electrons. We are positively charged and the earth is negatively charged. So when you walk on the beach, you basically become neutral. We're too positively charged, so we're frizzing. What happens is the body doesn't know, it doesn't have a balance, it doesn't have a harmony within it. So it's like, okay, this is normal. So if we're in a normal state, it's like someone who's completely sober or hasn't had the ADD buzz from this. What happens is they can make good choices. The system, you're coherent. When you start to have a whole lot of alcohol and a whole lot of pharmaceutical drugs and a whole lot of junk food, you go out of balance. This is what happens to our system. I'm standing on a grounding mat. I've got this. I fly with it. I hook it up in the plane, take it everywhere. So basically what happens, my body it knows it's on the planet. It's grounded. It's earth. This is the best antioxidant you can possibly get. We look at glutathione, all the different antioxidants. This is the best there is. So if you're not earthed, I know I did a talk in Perth just a few weeks ago. Guy went out and he was a bit of a whiz. He just put a rod in the ground, up through his mattress, up to his bed, and you can earth yourself without having a device, but standing on the ground. If you have a look at the picture there on the bottom right, what happens when you are not earthed, which is everybody sitting in this room right now, let alone the electromagnetic fields, who is not earthed, your blood is clumped. You've got aggregation of blood. So when you look at that, it's like if you look at any of the cardiovascular system. Let's look at. So what happens, you've got it all clumping together and you get poor circulation because the little blood cells can't get down into the capillaries, the little font which is in our brain. So what happens, people have got poor circulation, cold hands, cold feet, nothing's working properly. As soon as you earth yourself, within an hour, your blood will stop the coagulation. So, of course, the immune system can't swim through it. It's like everything's all clumped together. So the best thing we can do, best antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, anyone with arthritis. The guy in Perth, when he put it on, I spoke to him night before last, and that's been 2 weeks, and he said his carpal tunnel is gone by sleeping on an earthed bed or a grounding mattress. You look at the inflammation there within the system, all that happens within a short period of time. One of the best devices I've got, if anyone wants to check later, I've got a little device which I can check your voltage. Most people, we should be about 0 if we're earthed. I've seen people that are up over 1,000 and they've just come from work. They come and see me during their lunch break. They're around electromagnetic fields. They've got computers. They've got high-rise office where they've got... I'm plugged. Okay, getting old. Ooh, good one. Notice the difference straight away, don't you? Yeah. So I'm anal about this. I was selling them on the flights when I travelled. All the air hostess like, oh, I'll have one. So what happened? So his carpal tunnel went. Lost my train of thought then. So basically, we want to hang in there, guys. We need to, if we look at it in summary, when we look at what we need to do, firstly come from the heart, next get grounded, next stop supporting the companies that don't give a shit about us or our children. And it really pisses me off when I go into food courts and there's a big line at McDonald's and you've got 2-year-olds knowing the name of McDonald's. I want McDonald's. I don't think there's any chip in there to begin with. So we start supporting that. This is what's killing us. So we start to make the changes. Sadly enough, if we all unite and start to work together as a team, we'd probably be, fined, assassinated, locked up. So you're the quiet achiever. So what I do is I support this, and I don't have to tell anyone. I just know I do it. And if you know you do it, and you know you do it, and you know you do it, we all know that we're starting to make those changes. They hate it when we won't comply. They say, don't eat that, just don't eat that. Don't get vaccinated. Don't give your kids artificial foods. So we're going to create new pathways within the system. Where did that just come from? So we look at, what's that? The more that you let go of the need to be the individual controlling the outcome, the more the field, which is self-intelligent, self-aware, self-transcendent, can move through you. So I think I've made that point pretty well. Get the body in shape, get it properly hydrated, make sure we're working properly, start to meditate, start to turn the music off, turn the radio off. Most people actually don't know what to do if they haven't got a TV or a radio. Play cards. Play with your kids. I play hide and seek still. Sometimes they forget to come and find me, but Thank God for technology, so I text them, remember, I'm hiding in the teepee. Seriously. I've got a little grandson who's got a teepee. So keep in mind that where am I going? Have I skipped a couple of slides here? Did I go backwards? That's where we're going. Okay, so look at that. This picture is really amazing. I brought this up on internet, and it was obviously an energy being of a person looking up into the sky. That little, what looks like a sun, wasn't in the picture. That's my mobile phone, which was reflecting the light above, that put it into the picture, and I thought, do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. That's like really weird, because it looks like they're looking at the star or sun or something. It wasn't actually even there in the picture. So let's look at that. So we're creating new pathways. If you look at the pathways, if you look at where a cow goes through a field, you've seen cows, haven't you? Sitting on a farmer's daughter, God, we ate everything from the tongue to the testicles. So what happens is you get this pathway. So did you know that 95% of what we think in a day we thought yesterday? So we think the same old shit. It's like this, we go to bed, we've got all this shit we're thinking, we go to sleep, we wake up, we open it up and we think it all again. And then we get up, we think it all again. So we go through the same old bullshit. So it's time to distract ourselves and get into some new stuff. Start to research. I'll give you a whole heap of names that'll keep you going for 12 months on research on what's really going on with the truth of it. So when we look at it, we have the power within our heart. We are all just fragmented energy from the same source. We are, guys. Our individualness is just amazing. When I was doing the organ transplant, there was one... there's two stories that I'll tell you. If I've got just a couple of minutes, guys, I'm really nearly at the end there. There was one guy, after he'd had a heart and lung transplant, he would wake up with this pain in his forehead, see a flash of light and someone standing there. So it was like a nightmare. And someone said to him, maybe go back to the doctor and see if you can find out, if they know what's happening. Anyway, so he went back and they decided to look up who the organ donor was. And they tracked back to a wife. He didn't have any other living relatives to a wife. So they arranged a meeting. He said to the wife, to this wife of the obviously the deceased person, he said, I get this flash of light and I see this person and a pain there. And she said, oh my God, she said, my husband was a policeman and he was shot in the forehead. He recognised the guy and they caught him. A fellow policeman who came along later said, we know that guy, we've interviewed him, because the way she described him. The guy ended up admitting it. So even though this guy was deceased, he was able to pass on the memory of that. Another one, little 3-year-old, received a heart. And the parents wanted to thank the donor's parents. So they arranged a meeting in the doctor's surgery. And when the little kid was playing with the toys, and the parents of the deceased child walked in, he looked up and he said, Mum, Dad. He recognised them. There was another case of a girl who'd lived next door to this boy. They'd been childhood sweethearts forever. They went to school together. They were in love, and they were planning on getting married. He was killed. It took about 4 years for her to decide to move on, because she was crazy about this guy, and she happened to be, those coincidences where you're in the right place at the right time and you meet someone and you just know that there's some sort of connection there. They fell madly in love, and there was, it was an instant love, and then all of a sudden one of her girlfriends was coming over, and this girl pulled out a photo and she showed this new man in her life, and she said, oh, Mary's lost a lot of weight. She said, you've never met Mary. How do you know Mary's lost a lot of weight? Which was a strange, peculiar thing. She also had noticed that this man had obviously had a heart lung because of the scarring. And as time went on, there was too many weird things that were happening. They did some research and they found out that it was her ex, that this new man in her life had received the heart and lungs of the person she had been in love with her whole life. So what a beautiful story. Let me go in now. I'm just about finished, guys. I know, you've got the knives out there. What have I just done? Hello? Did I push the wrong thing? AB, did you cut me off? Come on, I'm just on the vinegar stroke here. Okay, so we're all in this together. So when we look at it, let me just tell you a quick story of a nursing home with old and dying patients, and the doctor's doing his rounds, and he comes up to this woman, and the woman says, Doctor, you don't understand, I'm not crying because I'm dying. I'm crying because I've never lived. And a little bit later, the doctor's left the room, and the woman's dream walks in, and the woman bowed her head in shame. And the dream said, why didn't you use me? And the woman said, I always thought there was tomorrow. And the dream said, we only ever have the moment of now. Everything comes from the moment of now. So why didn't you use me? And the woman said, I didn't think I could. And with that, the woman died, and so did her dream. Don't let that be you. Life's too short. Don't let that be you. So we've got to stand up. and make the difference and be what our children are looking for. Have the courage to do it. We've gone through that slide. So when you look at it, we're keeping an eye on the world. That's what the Freedom Summit's all about. It's getting out of ego, into heart, looking at the truth, starting to research. When you research, you don't stop. It just keeps going and going and going. And how do we change it? We start to buy this instead of that. The way we consume, what we do, whether we get loans or we go with private foundations. I suggest all of you put your name on the list and get a private foundation. For God's sake, you know, because the banks don't give a shit. They don't give a shit. So I think it's at that point, guys, that we're born free and yet we're charged to live here. I'm at that point now, I'm ready to give up my Australian citizenship and become Aboriginal, become one of the originals. Why not? Why not? Let's fight back. So with that, my time's up because I know he's giving me the on the side there. Actually, I had that happen. I walked into I was just wanting just be a minute. I'd been handing out Bibles along Venice Beach for this, the Agape Spiritual Centre, and we wanted to go and have a beer, and I've got the two black dudes with me, and we go to go in this bar, and there's this big guy at the door, and he says, $7 to get in. I'm like, oh, fuck, no, we haven't got $7, not paying $7. I said, what's $7 for? We can pay $7. He said, we've got a stand-up comedy night on. So I'm thinking real quick. I said, oh, yeah, just joking with you, I'm one of the comedians. He says, oh, okay. What's your name? I said, Samantha Bachman. So we all walk in. I grab a beer. I'm just about to have a mouthful, and the guy at the door turned out to be the MC. So he thought, fuck, I'll get her. So what happens? He's gone straight up on the microphone, and he's like, okay, he says, we've got a run in here. We've got a comedian all the way from Australia, Miss Samantha Bachman. So I'm about to have a sip of beer. I hadn't even looked around the room. The lights are dark and all that sort of thing. So I'm walking up there thinking, oh shit, I didn't even look. What am I going to say? And all I could think about was this joke that I'd just heard. Now, so I'm just sort of get up there and you have this blank and I couldn't see. So I was just thinking about this joke, which was, what would you get if you crossed Michael Jackson with Arnold Schwarzenegger? Michael was a nigger. Well, I thought, I am going to be hung, because all of a sudden the guys with me are going, we're going to be hung. And then I look and I realise the room's full of black people. So I'm like, in a billionth of a second, my life runs through, and I thought, oh, I can't tell any black jokes. And in that same billionth of a second, I thought, no matter what joke I tell, they're only going to remember the black jokes. So I made a conscious decision to only tell black jokes. At the end of it, they said, we thought you were friggin' crazy. I said, I know, but I thought I'm going to be killed. I might as well go down with with a bang. So anyway, with that, so basically my time's up. I do workshops. We do a 2-day workshop where we go into coherence, we look at diet, we look at the whole thing. But the one message is to get out of your head and get into your heart, because each of you know that everything is being said, even if some of the speakers are boring. Everything that has been said. Where's Ian? Is Ian here? He's one of those fucking boring speakers. Where is he? He runs when he sees me. Where is he? Another one of those guys with the big old grey balls. Anyway, so basically get out and get into your heart. So, thank you. Oh, by the way, with all my swearing, if anyone is offended, I will forgive you.
Sam, you'll be good when you come out of your shell.
I'm good.
Underneath all the jokes and profanity is a beautiful human being who does a lot of great work. So thank you very much, Sam.